From the shadows of the cyberpunks, Satoshi gave birth to a new dawn. Satoshi with his vision, decentralization, and proof of one, Bitcoin was born. You feel the shift beneath your feet. Peer to peer, we break the blockchain, we meet. Trust in code, not in the same. We are all Satoshi, this is what we've all been waiting for. Together we trust, together we hold. One block, one chain, tick-tock, next block. Every 10 minutes, Bitcoin the path we made. Together we build, together we grow. We are all Satoshi, we are Bitcoin. This system's alive and we won't let go. And we won't let go. La da dee, la da da. Hey ya, hey ya, ooh ah, ooh ah. And we won't let go. Together we trust, together we hold. One block, one chain. Tick-tock, next block, every 10 minutes. Bitcoin, the path we've made. Whoa, the path we've made. Together we build, together we grow. We are all Satoshi and we are Bitcoin. Bitcoin, this system's alive and we won't let go. And we won't let go. From the shadows of the cyberpunks, Satoshi gave birth to a new dawn. He gave birth to a new dawn. Birth to a new dawn. From the shadows of the cyberpunks, Satoshi gave birth to a new dawn. Satoshi with his vision, decentralization, and proof of one, Bitcoin was born. You feel the shift beneath your feet. Peer to peer, we break the blockchain, we meet. Trust in code, not in the same. We are all Satoshi, this is what we've all been waiting for. Together we trust, together we hold. One block, one chain, tick-tock, next block. Every 10 minutes, Bitcoin the path we made. Together we build, together we grow. We are all Satoshi, we are Bitcoin. This system's alive and we won't let go. And we won't let go. La da dee, la da da. Hey ya, hey ya, ooh ah, ooh ah. And we won't let go. Together we trust, together we hold. One block, one chain. Tick-tock, next block, every 10 minutes. Bitcoin, the path we've made. Whoa, the path we've made. Together we build, together we grow. We are all Satoshi and we are Bitcoin. Bitcoin, this system's alive and we won't let go. And we won't let go. From the shadows of the cyberpunks, Satoshi gave birth to a new dawn. He give birth to a new dawn. Birth to a new dawn. From the shadows of the cyberpunks, Satoshi gave birth to a new dawn. Satoshi with his vision, decentralization, and proof of one, Bitcoin was born. You feel the shift beneath your feet. Peer to peer, we break the blockchain, we meet. Trust in code, not in the same. We are all Satoshi. This is what we've all been waiting for. Together we trust, together we hold. One block, one chain, tick-tock, next block. Every 10 minutes, Bitcoin the path we made. Together we build, together we grow. We are all Satoshi, we are Bitcoin. This system's alive and we won't let go. Hey, and we won't let go. La-da-dee, la-da-da. Hey, yeah, hey, yeah. Ooh, ah, ooh, ah. And we won't let go. Together we trust, together we hold. One block, one chain. Tick-tock, next block, every 10 minutes. Bitcoin, the path we've made. Whoa, the path we've made. Together we build, together we grow. We are all Satoshi and we are Bitcoin. Bitcoin, this system's alive and we won't let go. And we won't let go. From the shadows of the cyberpunks, Satoshi gave birth to a new dawn. He gave birth to a new dawn. Birth to a new dawn.
Hello everyone, here we are again as every Tuesday or every week talking about Bitcoin, talking about treasury companies. Bitcoin is back or was back over 80K. Now it's a little bit down, 79,600. But Bitcoin crossed the line of 80K. Plus, Strategy announced a huge increase in their cash pile. Plus, Stripe announced the purchase of 1,110 Bitcoin. SATA back on par since Friday. Huge and good news for Bitcoin. And here we are to discuss with our friend, Batistoshi. How are you doing?
Hi, guys. Yeah, doing great. And yeah, I just woke up a couple of hours ago and see 80K on the Asian time. So yeah, pretty excited. Still maybe too early to call that we are completely outside of the trouble, but yeah, Bitcoin reacted very positively, so excited to discuss together.
Yeah, excellent. So let's move to this. Bitcoin was 1 week ago was around 62, 64. Out of nowhere, Scott Bessent announced that they were going to buy back the debt, because in our last episode we were discussing about the debt next to hit for 40 trillion, hit at 40 trillion, and Scott Bessent announced that they were going to buy back the debt. And after that, Bitcoin starts spiking, 70K, 75, and now 80. What is your take about that, Marco?
Yeah, I think again it's a combination of factors. As we discussed over the last episodes, the volatility of Bitcoin was very compressed. We were close to a very tight range between the moving average and in a very small range of price movement, which is pretty unfamiliar and pretty strange for Bitcoin. And yeah, I think some macro news, some external factors really spike up interest again, and again the volume were pretty low, so it was enough, maybe I don't know, 2, 3, 5 billion of movement for creating like a big gap in price. We also experienced the largest short selling liquidation in Bitcoin history, which again it's very telling that majority of people try to short. After a 50% correction down and 9 months into a bear market. So it's pretty strange, I would say, but they get flushed out and Bitcoin moved and reversed on the other way. So I don't know what was the real first catalyst to explain or justify the movement. I think it's a combination of those.
It looks to me like it was just the news because nothing actually happened. No money was moved yet. So the announcement was about buying back the long term of the yield curve in the bonds, which will start happening September 9. So on the announcement, gold and Bitcoin start ripping, while the stock market just remained flat or even down in the same period of time. So that's what is actually different, because in relationship to what happened before, at the beginning of the year when the gold started ripping and Bitcoin going the other direction, that was unusual. There was no major reason for that. But this time, both assets seem to start running correlated on the way up. So that seems to be the trigger. But the news itself, it wasn't even effective because the yield of the 30 years bond still rise above 5.3 or somewhere around there. So they couldn't even control it with the announcement. So let's see, after that, they double down on the amount of the buybacks they are going to do. And seems like still not under control. It's kind of like a canary on the coal mine scenario where the bonds are flashing out that there is something wrong in the system.
Yes, as Diego said, nothing real happened. The printer hasn't yet started working. Just the announcement of Besant triggered this. And what happened was that Besant announced the yield of the bonds went down. I think that the algorithmic trading saw some kind of signal there, started buying, increased the Bitcoin price, and then the liquidation started. So there was like a chain reaction that was triggered by Besant, then was followed by a spike on the price of Bitcoin, and the liquidation of the short and leverage position.
Yeah.
Brought Bitcoin price up, and now we crossed 80K, and we are back 79,600. But I think that Bitcoin is waking up. I don't think why you said that we are not out of. We cannot call the start of the bull market.
No. Me personally, I am pretty sure that the bottom was in, and we are consistent in saying that. And I think we are approaching the end of this, consolidation or bear market phase. But again, considering all the tightness in the macro situation, we can also expect another maybe leg down, not to a new all-time low in this period, but maybe some kind of correction. So again, we should not be too euphoric when we go up in 1 week, and we should not too depressed if we go down in maybe in another leg down. So, but again, I think it's very positive that Bitcoin start to price back and show strength, and again, maybe this is just the signal. The official in the US say that they have a problem on the long end of the curve, and just by telling that, Bitcoin went up 23% in 1 week. So when they will actually doing massive buyback and the debt will expand even bigger, I think, yeah, the likelihood that Bitcoin is completely out and starting the bull market is 100% in.
Yes, and do you have any in Italy? There are any these kind of YouTubers that we call gurus that they were calling to making people wait until the price was 40 to 30. Are there in Italy?
I mean, actually, I don't know because I'm not really following any of them. To be totally transparent, I think on X sometimes, yeah, I saw some posts claiming that by the technical side we should go around the 40K level, which I think is complete nonsense. But I'm not following anyone particularly, so I really don't like them. So I cannot have any insight.
Yes,
And on the Argentinian side, you have some clowns calling for 20K or no?
full of clowns.
Full of
It's
clowns,
like a
right?
circus. It's like a circus.
Like
The
I said.
crypto community, not only in Argentina, in Latin America, in Spanish-speaking world, is like a circus. There was a guy that I saw now. This guy is speaking in a conference. He's speaking about Bitcoin treasury companies. He started talking about the MSCI and all the FAT with strategy. He said the strategy was going down more than the price that had already gone down. But yeah, there are a lot of people calling that, oh, we are going to reach 40K in October because of the cycle and blah, blah, blah. And now they are now readapting all the narrative around the new prices.
Like the
They
walk
started,
movement. Like the walk
yeah,
movement, right? Okay, I see.
they started talking about first 30K, then they readjusted to 40K, and now they readjusted again to 50K. So let's see.
Yeah, good to
Let's
see.
see.
Good to see.
And on the other side, this spike on Bitcoin price brought, as we were talking before, a couple of months ago, when Stretch and SATA were far from par, we were saying we need to wait until Bitcoin price recover and all these metrics will recover. Finally, SATA last week on Thursday reached around par for a while. Was they allowed to buy some Bitcoin? And on Friday and yesterday, the price was up over par, and they announced the buy of 1,110 Bitcoin. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think again, as we say consistently over the last months, it's pretty impressive. They have done an amazing job to go much quicker and more agile than strategy on that front. Their balance sheet is cleaner. They are able with only one product to really be able to focus on that one and reach par before the bigger brother STRC. And again, it's pretty impressive to see, like, they have 20,000 BTC, and in just 1 week they added 1,000. So it's a 5% increase. So the number are pretty solid. And I was checking even before Stretch. Also, the trend is very positive because we moved from 87 on July 29 to 97 today. I mean, yesterday closing. So it's very close to 100. So I think the engine is working. The theory behind digital credit is stronger. They both survive the bear market. So it will be interesting when also Stretch will reach again 100 and see how strategy will use those proceeds, if they want to push back onto the Bitcoin acquisition, or if they want to buy back some of other securities. So I think the next months will be very telling.
Yeah, regarding SATA, it get to a new all-time high in market cap yesterday. And the price crossed the 20. It's a new all-time high in market cap. This is because the stack of Bitcoin have been growing. And yeah, a little bit of a troll with the 1,110 Bitcoin. They used to do that. The trading started at par and finished at par. So all the signals are are working perfectly, or as Matt Cole says, firing all cylinders. So SATA is okay. Now, regarding stretch, we're still not there. The price is slowly climbing up until 97.2, I think, yesterday.
0.4.
0.4. But it looks like they still need either a couple more weeks or one more push on Bitcoin until up to maybe 85, 90. And that will make it. Probably that will make it. But it will reach par sooner or later. That we've been saying that even from the moment when everything collapsed and the price fall down until 72, we say the machine is already designed to come back to par. You might take it sooner or later, but it will get there. And most importantly was the announcement from yesterday where they literally remove all the debt because they have as much cash as debt, this 6.7 billion with the new reserve. I think this is the different thing that happened yesterday, right? Because it wasn't clear before from the US dollar reserve how much of it was in actual cash versus cash equivalents. I think we speculated in the previous show that it was somewhere out of the 4.8 billion, maybe 700 or 1 billion was already in actual cash. But the other ones, the other amount remains in something else that also have a yield, right? So what was different yesterday was that they separate. Now they make it clear. It's two different accounting. One is the actual cash, and the other one is the total US dollar reserve.
Yeah.
And not a coincidence that the number, they added up to exactly the amount of the debt. So the speculation that the guys from True North were doing about that could probably be the maximum was right. So do you think it's from here they will continue increasing the stack of dollars, or that's it?
To be honest, if we go now to the website, the net leverage is 0.1%. So I think at this point, as long as they have this amount of convertible debt, in my view, it could be very strange if they add additional cash. What's the point of going even negative? For me, zero is more than telling to the market that we don't have a problem with the debt. We don't have any issue in to pay the dividends. We are completely effectively with a probably one of the strongest balance sheet on the public markets. So again, I think the goal is reached. And I was a bit surprised that they pushed so much last week with almost 2 billion in raising from MSTR. But I think they just want to go and show the market that is zero. And from now on, when Stretch will go back to par, they will just buy Bitcoin again. So maybe they accelerate a bit the timing just to prove that the 0% net leverage is important. And they just want to reassure everybody that they are not an existential threat to Bitcoin. Quite the opposite, because the leverage is zero. So I think it's a massive, massive move, but maybe the market still needs some time to digest and understand what 0% leverage on a 45% amplification means.
Also, the fact that the MNAV compressed to 1 effectively. Before the pump, the MNAV was around 1.07. After the pump, as the price of Bitcoin actually moved relatively faster than the price of MSTR, they now compressed to 1. So I'm not sure if at these levels, at least for this week, they're going to keep issuing MSTR shares at this level of MNAV. So probably next week we have a different surprise, like maybe more Bitcoin acquisition via that same pile of US dollar, or something different maybe.
Yeah, I think that probably we were talking today in the Spanish stream that probably Sailor hits the ATM this week and buys some Bitcoin for next week to say, see, we now have almost zero debt. We survived the bear market. Even probably Stretch is not back to par, and we are able to buy Bitcoin for all the fathers to demonstrate how the engine is working.
Yeah, and again, I think the market is appreciating now that strategy is not a threat, because at some point in the last months, I think the general consensus, I mean, not from our niche, but in general for like more superficial investor, for the bears on the Bitcoin equities, they claimed and they reached almost a consensus on X that strategy was a problem because they were buying too much Bitcoin, because they are 4% of the supply, because they are in too much debt, because they won't be able to raise capital to pay the dividend. So I think this mindset was starting to enter the market, but now it's actually the opposite. So strategy is 0% net leverage. They have enough cash for many years of dividend. They can offset the debt. And as soon as Stretch go back to par, they are perfectly aligned to start adding more BTC. And also the FUD of Sailor and strategy selling Bitcoin that will cause the price to crash. It's completely out of the narrative now, because they start to sell and Bitcoin rips higher. So I think all the negatives are being removed, and that's why also Bitcoin had this massive pump to 80K, because the BIP 110 is over, because the strategy as a potential point of failure is over, and also from the macro perspective, again, the printer are getting hotter. So I think all of these elements justify why Bitcoin is starting to feel more bullish again.
Do you think that, talking about Stretch is now approaching par because of all the strategy signals that they send to the market, increasing the cash pile, selling Bitcoin, and now having zero debt? Or is just the increase of the value of Bitcoin?
Yeah, I would say it's a combination, because again, when Sailor in the past decide to sell to use the USD cash reserve for other purposes, the STRC price kind of nuked to low prices. Now that they guarantee that those debts are completely potentially paid off, and they have the cash reserve for the dividend, and also helped by the price of Bitcoin increasing, I think the trend is clear. So I think if we just wait a few more weeks or maybe 1 month, maybe Bitcoin stabilizes, strategy stabilizes, and the Stretch goes normally back to par. Because again, why shouldn't be at par if you have, 5x or 6x over collateralization on the balance sheet? It should go back to par. So maybe it's just a bit of a time problem. Maybe sometimes we are too euphoric and we just want everything to work as we would like to, but sometimes it just need more time. So I think everything
Yes.
is okay, and just give time to Bitcoin, time to Stretch to do what they are supposed to do.
Yeah, and I want to think. I want to think what they are gonna say, Danny, and all these fake Bitcoiners that hate Sailor. Now, what they are not, they run out of excuses now. Probably they will pick up something and attack Sailor as well, because it's their favorite sport. But now they run out of excuses.
Yeah.
So, what else do we have to discuss? I think that you shared some stuff yesterday that you wanted to discuss about Tether, and you shared through WhatsApp.
Yeah, so the whole idea is, maybe mine it's a bit more of, it's an hypothesis, but I would like to talk to you, and then also have your idea on that. So we know that all the stablecoin issuer, and so mainly, Tether, have a percentage between 5 to 8% historically of the total market cap into BTC, because they see Bitcoin as the pristine collateral. They also have a reserve in gold, but normally if we do an analysis, let's say between 5 to 8% of USDT market cap is held in BTC. So if we assume that with the Genius Act, with all the Scott Bessent is trying to do also to push the stable coin to become much bigger, because they want them to buy the short term of the yield curve. Theoretically, we can move, Tether should move from 185 billion market cap today to potentially 250, 400, theoretically in a couple of years, or maybe in before 2030, to 1 trillion. So if we assume that this is the trend, and it seems to me pretty compelling, if they keep 5, 8, or even 10% of the market cap in BTC, we will find suddenly another massive buyer of BTC, putting between 50 and 80 billion of new capital into the asset class, alongside Strategy, alongside Strive, alongside Metaplanet, alongside BlackRock, and all the others. So again, if this theory is true, again, what would happen if in 2, 3, 4 years we will have 100 billion of fresh capital from only one entity, only from Tether, adding BTC? And again, I'm pretty sure Saylor won't stop buying. All the other big players are not stop buying. So again, I think the pushing of the stable coin, it's important for the depth of the USA, sure. But for me, it's much more important on a second layer of reading to Bitcoin as an entire asset class, and as a justification of a new financial regime that will be digital dollar and digital asset in BTC. So yeah, that's my idea.
The hypothesis is Tether reaching $1 trillion in market cap somewhere in the future, right?
Yeah, I would say in 5 years. Max. Yeah.
If they keep a 5% allocation in Bitcoin, that would mean 50 billion in Bitcoin. But by the time in 5 years, Bitcoin is probably around 500K.
500K,
So it's not going to be more than 10,000, 20,000 Bitcoin. I was trying to find a comparison with the current ranking of Bitcoin treasury companies. Where would that Tether, if it could be public, fit on that list? On an hypothetical case, the whole company's value now at the trillion, and holding 5% of that in Bitcoin. I think they're still, it's a solid, obviously, it would be one of the biggest companies on planet Earth. But with the 5% allocation on Bitcoin, still will not be predominant on the Bitcoin treasury companies list, I guess.
I mean, they already have 110,000 BTC as of today. So if they, again, the 5 to 8% is an average. I think they can go easily to 8%. Even
it's already above 100K Bitcoin.
Yes. Yeah. On the last audit, yes, they have. I think they surpass 100,000 because over the last quarter they have 90 something, and then they have more than 100,000 today. But my idea is that if the stable coin needs to adjust much bigger because they need to be the buyer of last resort of the short-term treasury bills, they will have a lot of inflows, and those of those new inflow, 5 to 8 to 10% should go to Bitcoin because that's the balance sheet and that's how they operate. And so my idea is that if they go to one, and that's only Tether, then we have Circle, that we might have other players. So if we line up everything and then we line up Strategy, all the other players, etc., I start to foresee why Bitcoin, the next bull run, will be very, very strong and solid, because it's based on the debasement trade, and it's based on the fact that the US Treasury needs to sell a lot of those paper. And the only buyer of paper of the short term of the yield curve are these the stablecoin issuers. So I think Tether will play a much larger role. Tether and similar, player like Tether. And if this trend is true, I think a lot of new inflow will go to Bitcoin in a permanent fashion, and will just keep bidding the price because they are agnostic to price. If they buy 10 billion of US Treasury, they need to go 10% in BTC. They don't care about the price; they just buy because they want to have this ratio on the balance sheet. So I see all those players aligning together with this massive legislation change that presumably will pass. And again, maybe it's not really relevant for Bitcoin, the Genius Act per se, but the implication that might trigger, I think, could be really relevant.
But my point is, do you think the business model of Tether or USDC Circle will remain the same as it is today, which is they should have peg version, a tokenized version of the US dollar without yield. If the Clarity Acts come up, I guess one of the predominant new products will be stablecoins with a yield. So I'm not so clear that they will be able to sustain the same business model as they have right now after the Clarity Act come out, and much more competition, other products and services come out into the market, and they eventually might need to do what Safety Mamus actually suggested a couple of years ago, that Tether should pay at least a 2% yield on USDT.
Yeah, my point is that Tether is not popular at all in the USA, because American investor and American citizen don't need Tether. Tether is very popular where the people from other countries cannot access a good currency or the dollar. So I think Genius Act should not be really relevant outside of the US. The Genius Act for me is to protect the US bank and US consumer to keep their own money inside the perimeter of America. But I think Tether shouldn't be very impacted on the outside of the USA, because they already have 400 million clients. Because if you are from, I don't know, Brazil, from Nigeria, from Southeast Asia, Argentina, or other countries, you want to have exposure to USDT. So I think Genius Act shouldn't impact on a very bad side Tether. Maybe it's not really opening the gates for them to operate in the USA, but it's already not really active there, because US citizen doesn't need Tether at all. So I think I would foresee USDT to grow much higher, because it's a strategic partner for the USA as a debt buyer. And I think the whole treasury is moving again to the short term of the yield curve, despite Bessent mocking Yellen, saying, why shouldn't issue more long-dated bond? Because nobody wants to buy them. That's why. And that's why also is following the same playbook. They need to find more short-term buyer, because the long-term 10 and 30 years, not nobody, but they risk to fail auctions, especially on the 30 years. That's why they announced that they are buying back their own debt. So that's why I think Tether is a very strategic partner, and I foresee USDT going to $1 trillion by 2030. And if this is true, 100 billion of new fresh capital will be permanent into BTC. Again, I don't know the exact multiplier, but 100 billion of new fresh capital, it's a lot of money for Bitcoin, because the price is set at the margin. So I think it's should be really relevant if the theory is true.
Yeah, I think it's kind of, someone already tracked how the correlation between the increasing market cap of the stable coins versus Bitcoin, and it always proved that both goes up at the same time.
Yeah.
So obviously, an increase in the market cap of all the stable coins will favor Bitcoin. And the mechanism is, as you described, they will have to hold US dollar or US dollar equivalent, and eventually some kind of Bitcoin, which eventually will go into the Bitcoin market cap.
Exactly. And also you wanted to discuss about the ETF. Yeah, ETFs are back these past days. The inflows are back on ETF. They recover most of the loss than made when Bitcoin went down. And I think that we have another actor there playing in the Bitcoin ecosystem.
Yeah, and me personally, I'm pretty surprised almost after 2 years and a half now, because they were launched in February 24, if I remember right. So after 2 years and a half, to be honest, the behavior of ETF investor on IBIT and similar products have been stronger and hodlers more than I expected. So honestly, I'm quite surprised about their own behavior, about the whole structure. And so again, I think it's another good signal that those instruments are very successful, and the people buying those instruments are pretty sophisticated and know what they're doing, because they didn't capitulate. We didn't see massive outflows on the bottom. Actually, quite the opposite, and now we see inflows coming back and piling up on those instruments. So I'm pretty surprised, and I think it's a good thing to see.
Yeah, plus that there was all the FUD with the ETF that they say, no, they're going to sell, they're going to do a fork, all the shit that the Maxis dog. And ETF, I think that we share the data, only 90%, only 10% of ETF holders sold Bitcoin. So
Yeah.
it's much. It's so, the people who are holding ETF probably are more holders than the real Bitcoiners.
What I describe it is, in the last weeks there was this negative comments about the ETF being having outflows, and it's obvious because the price of Bitcoin is going down. So what do you expect from the ETF? Now the Bitcoin have a pump, the ETF goes up, and yeah, they're showing all these green candles. And some people tend the tendency to say, oh, now the ETF are back, that's the reason why Bitcoin is up. It's not. It's as describing what is first, the chicken or the egg.
Yeah.
It's always the egg. Is Bitcoin is first, and the ETF will follow.
Yes, of course. But yeah, let's see what happens. Bitcoin seems to be waking up now at 3:42 p.m. At Bangkok time is 80,008. We are back over 80,000. Let's see how this week moves. I don't know if you have anything else to discuss.
No, I think we cover the agenda for the day.
Excellent. So, Marco, see you next week. For all our audience, how can they contact you?
Yeah, on X at Batistoshi93.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Marco. See you next week.
Thank you, guys. Yes, thank you.
And thank you to everyone who is on the other side. If you like the episode, give us a like, subscribe to our channel, follow us on social media, follow Marco on social media, because doing so, you help us a lot to paint the world orange. Share this episode with the people you love. Share this episode with the people you hate, because we must reach 8 billion people and give them the orange pill. See you next week. Stay humble, stack sats, and remember, we are all Satoshi.
Bye, guys.